Hi, my name is Jamie Dorn. I'm the Executive Director, Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at Georgian College.
And I'm Rob Terrio, Immersive Technology Lead at Georgian.
Today, we're going to talk to you about VR in education. It's a topic that we're pretty passionate about, both Rob and I. And I would like to just get started by telling you a little bit about Georgian's digital innovation strategy, and specifically about how we were using 2D and 3D tools to help us transform the workplace and also enhance our classrooms and the student experience. We'll even take you inside of several VR worlds so you can see just how compelling these new tools are. It's fascinating to me to look at how education has actually been evolving over the last 2 decades. The shift in education has been around how and where we access content, but it's also about the richness of the learning experience. We know that experiential education is the way to go. It's a hands-on, immersive way for students to put their skills and knowledge to work and prove out how they have learned those skills. But now we see digital tools coming into the classroom which allow us to do experiential learning opportunities through 2D and 3D VR tools. As is the case with all new technologies, it's really the early adopters who are driving these kinds of technologies and coming up with new ways to use them in the classroom. So not until we get mass appeal will we get a mass adoption. So we're really truly at the pilot stage right now for many of these technologies. Georgian is committed to a new digital innovation strategy. If you think about the student journey from their inquiry to coming to your college to where they graduate, there are several points along that journey that could be improved with digital tools and digital experiences. We are looking at transforming the back end to make inquiry registration and course add drop as simple as it can be. We're looking at new ways to support students by providing counseling via a virtual campus or through VR or through other remote means. When it comes to transforming the classroom, we're looking at several things. I just want to tell you a little bit about our virtual campus. So Georgian has leased a space in a virtual campus, and we've partnered with the Immersive Learning Research Network. And the iLearn campus, as we call it, uses the Verbella platform, which is a 2D virtual campus experience. And we now have over 600 of our staff and faculty and students signed up with accounts to use the space. We have 4 teaching pilots underway, and these are applied digital marketing, hospitality law and risk management, big data analytics, and crisis intervention. We've actually held several events in there, and we are planning to do quite a few more in the near future. We've held a business management career day, research, innovation, scholarship, and entrepreneurship week, and several departments are using them for internal meetings with their team or collaboration between departments. Our use of this virtual campus is in its early days, and we're seeing more and more people use it each week. It's a combination of formal talks and meetings, as well as social events, which bring people in. And it's a really great place to do networking because you actually feel like you're in the space with these people. And it's great for breakout rooms if you have a conference. I actually have my team meetings in there. So my whole team, we meet in one of the iLearn boardrooms, and we are able to do our team updates in there. We share our content on the web boards. So it's very much like being in a regular boardroom with whiteboards and view screens all around. So it's very conducive to sharing information, but also feeling like you're in the same space. And then after the formal part of the meetings are done, we might go for a walk in the forest or walk down to the beach. And then, of course, people always want to go for a boat ride. So we go zooming around on the ocean around the island. So it's quite a compelling experience for our team members. It's a great place to do collaboration and really break down those walls that you sometimes feel through video conferencing. An important thing to remember is the digital innovation strategy that we're embarking on is not really just about the technology. Of course, that's an important part, but it's really about the people. So in line with implementing a variety of pilots with the technology, we are looking at doing a variety of training to really raise the comfort level of all of our people with these kinds of tools. One of the ways we're driving change is to support our early adopters. They're the ones who are implementing these new approaches. They're keen to try new things and test it out in the classroom, but they are also inspirational to other faculty members who then learn from them and try it in their own classrooms. We've also implemented a digital innovation fund, which allows our faculty members to apply for funding to get these tools and training so that they can use it in their classroom. And it's a way for us to allow our faculty to drive the change that they want to see and things that they know will work in their classes. An important lens on our digital innovation strategy is equity, diversity, inclusion. We want to make sure that when we're utilizing these tools, we're not creating barriers, we're actually removing them so that our students feel like there's a level playing field and they can access content just as easily as anybody else. So right now, it probably feels like VR is just an experimental educational tool, but it is actually going to be the future. Because imagine a class that can be anywhere in the world. You can access any information instantaneously. You can immerse yourself and your students in a real life scenario where your skills and knowledge are put to the test. So in this decade, we will see VR become a standard component of education. And in fact, the shift has already begun. Starting down this path doesn't have to be a daunting thought for a post-secondary institution. In fact, Georgian has already been piloting VR in several different ways, and I would like to pass it over to my friend Rob, who's going to tell you a little bit about the pilots we have going on at the college.
At Georgian, we've taken the approach of exploring virtual reality in contrast with some other schools, for example, who have students in the XR development programs, or they've hired staff who can develop XR experiences, and they develop some XR experiences and then maybe tried and research it. We've purchased a number of off-the-shelf products to just begin exploring to help faculty get through the learning curve, students get through the learning curve, explore its pedagogical value, and then eventually move into research. So in a nutshell, essentially, we've taken a pilot approach. We've launched quite a few different pilots. And this is a really simple synopsis, but essentially my role is to search for applications that I think would be really good for different programs. And I search for things, I get a trial version, I meet with faculty, they get to try it, we explore it together, we get it in the hands of students. And then we look at its pedagogical value, what's the return on investment, and eventually go the way of integration and curriculum and eventually do research, and that might be in a year or 2 years' time. We've had virtual reality in our architectural technology program for over 4 years now. It's well established in their curriculum right now, and you know the great thing about a spatial experience in virtual reality for architecture is you can design a building, for example, on a PC, and then go into the building in virtual reality and realize, oh, this ceiling needs to be elevated 2 feet, or this room isn't quite big enough, and you get that feeling of presence. And we launched a couple of pilots last fall. So our Indigenous Studies program, they have 4 language courses, one in each semester, and last fall it was a course called Language in the Home. So it just made sense in terms of context-based learning to be able to learn language in the home. This semester they're in a small town and doing a language called, or a course rather, called Language in the Community. Our veterinary technician students, you'll love this, are doing animal dissection in virtual reality. And this is one of the great things about virtual reality is that you have agency. You can do things with your hands. So you can't see the other table in this image, but there's a table with a scalpel and some forceps, and there's an animated teacher there who gives you instructions, and then you go through the dissection, and you can do this multiple times, which you might not get the chance to do in a lab. They're also doing animal anatomy using an open source program from Virginia Tech University that we made some modifications to. Our biotech degree, our students, a small cohort, are studying anatomy in virtual reality and chemistry using a product called InSpirit VR. And nursing is also running some pilots teaching nursing students in their degree program in anatomy in a basically a virtual life sciences lab where you've got this anatomical structure that's life size, and you can walk around it and you can take a bone off and it's suspended in midair, and you can see all the all the parts of the bone are labeled. Pretty incredible experience. Our advanced care paramedic program, they are using a product from a group called Health Scholars, and it's a pediatric assessment program and a pediatric resuscitation program. And in the fall, we're looking at an advanced cardiac life support program. This one's really interesting because it uses voice recognition and artificial intelligence. And the student basically stands in a room where there's a victim on the floor and there's a group of paramedics, and each animated paramedic has a name tag, and the student just barks out orders. So the paramedic student will say, Aaron, can you check for a pulse? Phil, can you start chest compressions? Fatima, would you mind starting an intravenous line? George, can you give a milligram of epinephrine? And the analytics component in the program will give the instructor feedback at the end as to what the student did, in what sequence, did they miss something, did they do something out of sequence, and of course the student gets that feedback as well. So really interesting. It really helps the student develop their higher order thinking skills. So they're assessing, diagnosing, treating, and getting feedback at the same time. It also tests their situational awareness, which is really interesting. So if the person who's doing chest compressions may start to slow down, and the student has to, one, notice that, and two, tell them to speed up or get someone else to do chest compressions because the first person is tired. So pretty compelling.
And I think it would probably give them that sense of urgency too, right? That you maybe don't get in a classroom setting.
I certainly had that experience. My first time doing a patient simulation of virtual reality, what struck me after the experience was that I got the same twinge of adrenaline that I would get as a paramedic when I see someone who's quite sick and I think this person needs to be assessed and treated quickly before they get worse. We're using a similar program in nursing for a pilot at one of our satellite campuses where the students working together will assess and resuscitate a patient. And again, one of the beautiful things about experiential learning of VR is the student has agency. So the student can put a blood pressure cuff on the arm, connect the ECG leads, put on a pulse oximeter, take a bag valve device and ventilate the patient, draw up a medication and give it. They can even pick up the phone and call a doctor for an order. Really quite remarkable. The other program we're using in nursing is from a company called PCS Spark, and it's a communication tool. Another one that uses voice recognition and artificial intelligence, where the nursing student has a conversation with the client. So the nursing student will be sitting in a hospital room in front of someone who's comes in, for example, complaining of a bad headache, and the student will just ask them simple questions. I understand you have a headache. How long has that been going on? And the artificial intelligence client will say, I've had it for 2 weeks. Is it worse today? Yes, it's much worse this morning. And then the student will ask, how bad is it on a pain scale? Where is it? Does it go anywhere? Does anything make it worse? And the program keeps a transcript of everything the student said, everything the artificial intelligence said, and will also identify if the student missed something. Perhaps the student forgot to ask if there were any associated signs and symptoms. It'll give the nurse that feedback, which is great. We're also going to be trying that with our international nursing students. So hopefully this will become a great tool for practicing communication skills. Our events management program, those students are learning how to create and organize events on virtual reality platforms such as AltSpace VR, Verbella, and Engage VR. We also have 4 international students in that program, and we ship VR headsets to China and India. And but these students are meeting in virtual reality and organizing events. I've also connected the students and the faculty with some events that I'm involved in, and they're going to be assisting with those events. Our tourism students are learning how to create tours in VR. They're learning all about virtual reality tours. So it's an up and coming area right now. We've got close to 200 VR headsets, and about 118 have been deployed for distance learning. And these are standalone headsets that don't require a connection to a computer. And we're also building a virtual reality lab. So we have one in our library in our main campus. We're building 3 VR labs at 3 of our satellite campuses. And without getting too detailed about which is most suitable, it really depends on the types of programs that are available and whether available for standalone VR headsets. My advice to other educators and other schools when it comes to virtual reality is it's a pretty nascent technology still. I think it's really important as educators and institutions to explore it so we can begin to understand it. And does it have any solid pedagogical value? Is there a good return on investment for some of these experiences? And I think it's really important just to explore, just to launch some pilots. And if it's just an individual teacher, to search, to plan, to always have fresh quotes ready to go so that if money becomes available, you budgeted for it, you put the request in and you just launch it from a school perspective. And I put CTEL, which is our Center for Teaching and Learning. You want to get a little more detailed in terms of the search, the plan, the quotes, the budget, the request, the launch, really doing a deep dive into how many objectives can a virtual reality experience hit on? Does it hit on a sufficient number of learning objectives that it's worth purchasing on an annual basis, or does it hit on learning objectives that are otherwise difficult, impossible, counterproductive, or expensive, as I mentioned earlier? So that's the approach we've taken, and I'm sure some of the pilots we do are going to work better than others, and but it's really important to start exploring this new area.
Yeah, very true. And you sell yourself short sometimes, Rob. I think one of the things that our college has done really well is to identify you as our XR lead, because that has done a lot. You have really opened the doors to this technology for so many different faculty and the eyes of our senior team to the possibilities to where we can take this as a college.
Yeah, I think we have some truly great faculty who've been enthusiastic, have fully embraced this, and credit goes to them for all the work they've done on the front line getting this implemented.
So here we are in VR. This is incredible, Rob.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, can you imagine being a student and this is your classroom? Why would a college or university want to explore using VR for teaching and learning?
Well, it's not just cool, but what's incredible about virtual reality is that you can learn in the cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective domain. I don't think there's any other educational tool that allows you to do that. But what's really great is that, unlike Zoom call or Teams call, you feel like you're actually here with people. You get this sense of presence with your classmates and your teacher.
Yeah, I agree. Look, this feels, it does look cartoony, but at the same time, it does feel real. So where are we right now? Let's start there.
Yeah. So this is the Indigenous Studies home space. So the Indigenous Studies students were taking a course called Languages in the Home. And what better place to learn language in the home than to actually be in a home? So this gives students context. But yeah, let's go take a look in the house. So the teacher and students come into the different rooms within the house. Like right now we're in the kitchen, they'll go into the living room, the bedrooms, the bathroom. They might split up into groups and they go into different areas. And this is all about context-based learning. So they want to learn the Ojibwe words for a chair, a hamburger, a plate, a coffee maker, etc. They can click on the information buttons and find out what what the translation is. And of course, more importantly, they're having conversations in here in their native language. And they're really immersed in the world that they're learning about. So if it's not learning in the home, maybe it's language in the community, and they're in a small town and they're going to the grocery store and they're going to the band office and other places. So context-based learning is really important for memory retention.
How can VR provide experiences you can't get in the traditional classroom?
I think the space we're in is a great example, right? We're in a volcano, which is incredible. And, as Jeremy Bailenson from Stanford University would say, think about virtual reality or augmented reality or mixed reality as something that might otherwise be dangerous, impossible, counterproductive, or expensive in the analog world. And I can't think of a more dangerous place to be than in a volcano. We're standing on a rock, fairly safe place. I can't imagine how hot it would be right here, but we could actually walk into the lava and get a close-up look.
Without danger at all. This is fascinating. So in other cases, it might be too expensive. Like if we wanted to go to the top of Mount Everest, you couldn't do that in a classroom, but we could do that in VR.
Right, exactly. Or there are lots of things within the trades that can be very expensive, or in flight services programs. So for example, going to the airport and bringing a group of flight services students into an airplane requires travel, requires expense. And if you can do that in virtual reality, you save a ton of money.
And we had some conversations about use of heavy machinery in VR, which are quite expensive to use and you need the space for. Here in the VR world, you could try out a variety of different heavy machinery and learn how to use them in a simulation setting.
Right, that might otherwise be expensive or dangerous for that matter. So if you're working on the electrical components at a nuclear plant, it's quite impractical to get a group of students into a nuclear plant working on actual machinery, but you can replicate that in virtual reality. And as long as in the VR space, the students have agency, so they're able to actually do things with their hands, push buttons, turn dials, and operate machinery. What a fantastic way to learn.
This is a fantastic world that we're in here, but what about other places that we couldn't actually get to in any classroom? Like what about a, say, microscopic place?
Well, yeah, let's go.
So here we are on the surface of the coronavirus.
Hey, you wanted microscopic? We got microscopic.
This is incredible. And then looking around here, I see all these proteins, various ways of displaying proteins. So can we interact with them?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the proteins behind you, you can grab those. Again, context-based learning. What a better place to talk about the SARS-CoV-2 virus than on the actual virus itself. There's lots of information placards that are around here. Students can look at. They can come in here with their teacher or on their own time. Really amazing. So you might want to fly up and get a close-up of one of those bugs. This would be great for an entomology class. I don't think I'd ever want to get this close to a bug that big.
So as an educator, this kind of environment is pretty exciting because you can probably imagine all kinds of things you could do in here with your class and things you could teach, but this is really only the stepping stone to something else. So where is all this headed?
Yeah, I think one of the probably most exciting aspects of virtual reality is that it's experiential. So you actually have experiences of feeling present with other people, the experience of doing things with your hands, and seeing things in a spatial sort of way. I see this as being a really, really powerful medium for experiential learning. So, for example, we're in a social VR platform right now where people can interact with one another. But imagine if we were in a hospital setting as a nursing student and you've got a sick patient on the bed and an anxious husband pacing the floor, and you're able to pick up things from the table, like attach a heart monitor and put a blood pressure cuff on and a pulse oximeter and take a stethoscope and actually listen to the chest and hear abnormal breath sounds and actually interact with the patient. That kind of experience is really powerful and hopefully will supplement the lab experience and better prepare people for the clinical experience, just as an example in healthcare. But there are all sorts of applications in trades, in engineering, in the arts for creativity, as an example, and healthcare, of course.
Right. And I think a lot of people at least at this stage of the game, they may feel a barrier or a hurdle to get involved here, and they think, oh, it's too difficult. But I was one of those people, and I learned it fairly quickly, and got used to being in here, and using the controls, because you have these controllers in your hand. But after a while, it becomes second nature. And it's just as easy as changing channels on the TV, and you don't, feel disoriented.
It's true. The learning curve is actually pretty short, and one of the reasons we've taken the approach of doing pilots at Georgian College is to get faculty and students through the initial learning curve of being comfortable in virtual reality and learning how to use the controllers and getting used to the virtual reality environment that they're working in. And it is pretty intuitive. And, one of the really important things about virtual reality is being able to do things with your hands, to actually, steps in a procedure or a scenario type situation.
Very cool. Maybe we could go to somewhere where we can actually pick some stuff up, and we can see what that's like.
Sure. So you wanted to know about grabbing things in virtual reality, where here's an example. You can grab some items here. I'm not sure how useful wielding a sword as a college or university student is, but hey, this is the whole idea of agency, right? In a really good learning VR program, not only can you pick up objects, but you can do something with them. Useful.
That's pretty amazing. And I can feel it in my hand.
Vibrate in your controller.
Yeah. So Rob, beyond the teaching and learning aspects of VR, there's a social aspect that I think is really important. Especially now we're learning remotely in some of our classes, and we may have classmates from, all over the place.
And here at the campfire in AltSpace VR, one of the public spaces,
it allows the users to socialize. And so I could be socializing with my classmates in here, but I could also be bumping shoulders with people from anywhere in the world.
You really can't understate the sense of presence that you get in here. So I see your mouth moving when you speak. I see your eyes making contact with my eyes. The other thing that I find really cool is there's, although the characters are animated, there's a little bit of anonymity to being here in avatar form. And in fact, I've met people who are wheelchair bound and said they have a tremendous sense of freedom because they socialize with people and nobody knows that they're in a wheelchair. And that's important for them because oftentimes in real life, people feel a little uncomfortable going up and saying hello to someone who's in a wheelchair. But in virtual reality, we all look similar.
Yeah, that's true. And we've just been exploring AltSpace VR because it's convenient for us to do so. But there are other platforms. Let's go check out Engage VR.
So here in Engage VR, we're actually in a ballistics lab where we are using our physics lessons to learn how to fire this cannon and hit a target out there in the ocean.
And where else could you do this? You couldn't even do this in the lab. You'd really have to be on a field trip. So we're really achieving the impossible here in a virtual reality environment. Really quite remarkable.
And it does feel real, like we're out on the ocean. We even got a seagull here.
Yeah,
as our
foam
friend.
on the water.
And foam on the water. So, Rob, you gonna try to hit the boat?
Fire in the hole!
We could do the math.
I should probably do the math, eh? That's a lot of cannonballs wasted.
So now we're in a hospital room. We were just on the pier firing cannons at a boat like pirates. Now here we are in a hospital room.
With a mom who's about to deliver a baby. And we have very limited equipment. So there are objects here, like masks for resuscitating the baby, but we don't have a baby yet.
The mother seems reasonably calm.
If she only knew who was in the room with her, she wouldn't be so calm.
Really.
Okay, Jamie, if you go around to the other side of the desk, let's put the skeleton together here. There we go. Interpret that rhythm.
One of the really great things about Engage VR, it's a social VR platform. So the teacher and students can meet, and we can meet in any one of a number of interesting places. We're in the Oxford Library right now. That's Oxford, England.
You can bring some 3D objects into spaces like this. So for example, if I wanted to bring a lunar rover into here.
Wow, okay, there you go. All right, and there's Sputnik.
Well, Jamie's probably writing in Japanese.
Sort of.
This is what is truly needed in distance learning is places to go like this for context-based learning.
So what can I get you? Because we can role play in here.
I'll have a grande caramel macchiato, please.
All right. Do you like extra foam in that, or what do you like?
No, just the regular foam.
All right.
I think I'd like a blueberry scone with that.
Okay.
Just because there aren't enough calories in a caramel macchiato.
All right. There you go.
Thank you.
We got a macchiato. We got a scone. Bloop, bloop. There you go. Now you can pay.
Yep, I'll use my app. Bling.
Perfect. All right. Come again.
Thank you. We're on an oil rig right now. If you were teaching in the trades, giving students an orientation to what an oil rig looks like, this would be the place to be.
Yeah, and how it's laid out, what it would feel like to be on one. You know, that you could point out the safety features.
You can create some heavy rain in here. You could also create a fire.
It's a pretty desolate location, you know. It'd be quite strange having to live on one of these things for extended period of time.
It would be.
Hey, court is now in session. Will the witness please come to the stand?
I'll be the forensic expert.
So this is just the 360 theater, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could call up a video, a 360 video you have, and everybody's in here seeing the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, for example, I can show you the Georgian paramedic lab.
Oh,
Welcome
yeah,
to our
cool.
state-of-the-art
Randy
paramedic
speaking.
lab at the Barrie campus. I'm Randy McDermott, program coordinator of the paramedic programs
There's
here
Dwayne
at Georgian
evaluating some
College.
paramedic students.
Take a 360 look around and see some of our students practicing life-saving procedures.
Yeah, you can just get in the car from the perspective of the driver. Here we go.
But I gotta say, it's good to be back home. Well, this looks great. You see this? Man, where's all this water coming from? Oh, it's inches, man, a foot max. Looks pretty gnarly down there. Let's get back on the freeway and hit the next exit. Look, we need to get on top of the car like that guy. Dude, we're gonna hit! We're gonna hit! I don't wanna die like this, man.
Personally, I think when we enter virtual reality, I think it's important to rethink how we teach and learn. My personal preference is not to use slides inside an environment in here, but to have discussions, one-on-one discussions, group discussions, maybe put up a poster to talk about, but not this, classroom where the teacher's at the front and everyone else is muted and in the distance.
I think that's a really good point, because the tendency is, whenever you get a new tool like this, is to try to reproduce the classroom as it is.
Right.
And this is a different medium altogether.
And as we talked about earlier, the context-based learning opportunities in here are incredible. If you're studying Greek history, why do it on a Zoom call? Why not meet while you're sitting with your classmates and your teacher on the steps of the Parthenon? So the places you can go, the things you can see are really, truly incredible.
That's true. And if you think back to like history of education, the only reason we have books is that people couldn't travel to those places. So you had to capture it as detailed as possible in a book or, other similar hard copy form. But here now we could do it that way.
Yep, exactly.
So there's quite a big future here, and we're right at the beginning of that future history of VR.
It just seems like the experiences are almost endless, and they're only going to get better and better with each iteration of the technology.
It truly are. And, you think about the virtual reality hardware too. Like, we're currently using headsets that are a little bit large, a little bit bulky, a little bit heavy. I don't recommend spending more than about 30 minutes in virtual reality for students. But the headsets are going to get smaller. They're going to get more comfortable. They're going to get faster. They're going to get more powerful. And so, it's only going to get better. And this is really the time to launch into it.
So this is our call to action for everybody to say, go and try it.
Go and try it.
Thanks, everyone, for watching our video and listening to our talk. We're open to where you can communicate with us outside the conference, and we're happy to talk to you about our experiences.
Yep. Thanks.